like that, and he kind of shrugged it off and just said to me, "Well, I won technically. I mean, let's face it." So,
Well, we all know that I would have won, had they not stopped the match. So,
well, I think that a lot of people would debate on that, but since I'm talking to you, I'm just going to say, yeah, I totally agree with you, man. I totally could see you winning, uh, but I do think that a lot of the matches that you've had have definitely been very memorable. I think I remember actually first time seeing you wrestle. I think that was the night that myself, AJ, and Chris, we did like a bet for a championship belt, and I ended up losing. It was just a slaughter. I didn't even get like one matchup correct during that night, and I just remember that was that's right. That was the night where you were one of the many guys who just chopped me in the chest, and I think I remember saying the phrase, "Oh, I didn't pick you to win tonight," and you were just like, "Oh, really?" So you just smashed me right upside the chest. Just
well, yeah, I mean, I had to prove a point, I think, at that point.
Oh, you proved a point, and you made a statement later on that night where it's just like, don't ever bet against Lynch. So, but yeah, fast forward a bit to the last point show. You had another great matchup with Chris Logan, who would go on blaming me for all the punishment that you received. You're welcome. And
Yeah, thanks for that, by the way.
hey, you won, dude. So I think in all fairness, it all works in the end. But yeah, what was really special about that night was, in fact, of Sadist, calling you out, bringing you out to the ring, and crediting you, and then just giving you one of the most brutal promos that I've ever seen out of Sadist, and challenged you to a matchup at Stadium Mania. Honestly, is going to be one of probably the best, if not the best match on the card. What are your thoughts going into this matchup against Sadist at Stadium Mania?
Well, it's interesting because if you look back, I think Sadist started about 7 or 8 years ago, and our careers are eerily similar. He kind of had a quick start out of the gate, was pushed pretty early, and was a well-known name, very early on in his career, and has just continued that all the way through. And I am young in my career yet, but trying to make my own way, and it's almost like he wants to be that measuring stick for me to see whether or not I'm ready to get up to that next level, which I feel like I am. And in a way, it's kind of an honor that he would pick me to wrestle at Stadium Mania, because he could have picked anybody, but yet he chose me. So I don't know what's going to happen, because honestly nobody really knows what's going to happen yet, but I do know one thing is that the two of us are going to get together and we're going to have one hell of a match.
Oh man, I mean, just the stare down between the two of you was already just kind of like bone chilling. It was almost like classic stare downs between Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels, or the Undertaker and Kane, or just some of these classic deals where you just see that, and it's just one of those things where it's like, I remember that day where I was when they first either locked horns, or when they first had their face off. And honestly, guys, Stadium Mania, which is happening in July, it is going to be a can't miss show. So definitely tune into that. It's going to be insane. And with this matchup on the card, I think I'm already going to probably be saying, like, you know what, I'm done. I'm tapping out right now. I enjoy this matchup. It's going to be awesome. I guess the only thing I'm concerned about when it comes to you is the spear that Sadist has. And actually, Nathan Gust actually told me about this, about how Sadist probably has one of the most wicked spears in either Wisconsin or in wrestling today. And do you have a plan to counter the spear?
Yeah, I'm not going to divulge that information. I got to keep that as a competitive advantage.
Fair enough.
But I do want to say that we actually had a WPW show last weekend, and Sadist gave me a cheap shot spear last weekend. Ooh. So I can tell you firsthand that it is pretty devastating, but now that I've been hit with it, I have, I think, a better idea of how to avoid that same fate on July 29th when we meet at Stadium Mania.
Sadist, I hope you're listening, because he just said it here first. So looking forward to hearing your response in just a few weeks. One thing that I recall mentioning was that I think a while back, you and TW3 actually went out to the Ring of Honor tryout that was going on, and TW3 kind of gave us a little bit of insight, about what his experiences were during that tryout, and it definitely felt a lot like a classic Tough Enough with Stone Cold Steve Austin in it. But what was your experience with the tryout with Ring of Honor?
It was a very just all around a great experience for me. At that point, I had only been consistently wrestling, every weekend or 3 weekends a month or so for about 8 months at that point, and I was under a year and a half in the business total. So for me to go out there kind of that early in my career and get exposed to, Christopher Daniels was the one who was basically running all the in-ring stuff, and having him just be in there with us and hands-on, showing us, did you ever think about doing, this way, or if you do it this way, then, this is what the crowd will see. And just getting those insights that early in my career really, I think, is just paying dividends and actually is what kind of led me to this whole future of professional wrestling weapon next thing. Just based off the feedback that I got from them, kind of where I wanted to take this Logan Lynch character, that all stemmed from that. So it's not quite where I want it to be yet or where it's going to be, but everything that I learned at that camp is trying to take it all and build it up into just making myself the best that I can possibly be.
Wow. I mean, you're definitely getting a lot of hints from the ROH world champion, so that's definitely one of those things that is always an honor. But again, for him to say we'll have you tread like this way, that's really cool. So now, moving on from that to comparisons, is there any difference that you've kind of noticed when it comes to wrestling promotions such as ACW and WPW? Like, what is probably like the biggest difference between, let's just say, those wrestling companies?
I would say just a big difference right now is mainly venues. ACW, they have their set specific venue where they run at the Oshkosh Masonic Center, except for that the WrestleCon was somewhere else, obviously. And then they run a few shows at Tanner's, but they always seem to draw really well at the Masonic Center. It's a really good venue for wrestling because it's kind of got a little bit of a cathedral ceiling where the sound just kind of goes up and comes back down. So when you fill that place up, it gets really loud in there. WPW, we're at Baba Louie's. We go to Watering Hole sometimes. We go to out to Point. We travel a little bit more for WPW, but in terms of the roster and the talent, it's pretty similar across the two. Both are. I have the privilege of being able to work for both, so that's really helpful. And one guy maybe, or one of them, ACW in particular, maybe I'm a bad guy or not the nicest person, and in WPW it's kind of the opposite. So I guess depending on which side of Logan Lynch you want to see, you could check out both. But you should check out both because you need to support local indie wrestling.
There you go. # support indie wrestling. Definitely agree with that. So when you look back on your career and when you want people to look back on your career, what is something that you want them to remember you by? Like when all is said and done, when you're riding off into the sunset and you feel like you've accomplished anything in your career, what's one thing you would want people to take out of your career? What legacy do you kind of want to leave behind?
I guess I would just be honored with the fact that I would leave behind a legacy, that people would remember who I am and say, oh, I remember Logan Lynch. I saw him here. I saw him do this. And I want to be, throughout my career, going back to Chris Jericho, because he's been one of my biggest inspirations, I'm just consistently amazed with how he is able to adapt and change throughout his career and just stay relevant. And that's something that I think all wrestlers should try to take to heart and try to do. Some guys can get away with kind of being the same character throughout their whole career, but most guys, if you try to do the same thing, you're going to fall off, or people are going to get you get a little stale and they don't care about you as much. But he's just been able to reinvent himself constantly. So if I look back on the end of my career and say, okay, I've been I was relevant the whole time. People wanted to see me. They cared about what I was doing. Then I would say that is definitely something that I would be proud of.
So, in the future, can we expect a list of Logan?
I wish I would have come up with that because that is just so fantastic.
So, obviously, with us building up the excitement towards ACW's show coming up in Oshkosh, you and Brock Hall will be taking on the team of Nick Colucci as well as Swoggle. Any words that you would like to say to them before the big matchup in a few weeks?
Well, at the WrestleCon, my match got cut a little short. Brock's match got cut a little short. And then Swoggle needed help from Torito to finish off Nathan, basically. So I guess Brock and we're going to be pretty fresh because we didn't get to finish our match. And we're out for blood, let's put it that way. And we're not going to stop until we get what we want.
It's actually kind of funny when you said, my match was cut short, Brock's match was cut short. I honestly thought that you were going to go into this build up to a short thing, and of course, Nathan Gus got beat by a short man, so it.
He did. I mean, it's a tag match, but it's really 2 on 1.5, right?
In all fairness, I guess you're right about that. So,
yeah.
Before we go out, do you have any plugs or anything that you would like to heavily promote in the upcoming month?
We got that ACW show on June 2nd. June 3rd is a WPW show at Baba Louie's. So don't forget about that. Keep an eye out for summer shows. I know that ACW is running one at Tanner's this summer in Kimberly. And then, of course, Stadium Mania on July 29th in Green Bay at Stadium View are going to be huge. Just keep an eye out. I am Facebook, obviously, so you can add me on there, find out where I am if I'm in Minnesota or Illinois, somewhere else, who knows, someday, hopefully. Twitter, I have Twitter. It's at the Logan Lynch, so feel free to follow me on there. But yeah, just keep your eyes out for any local indie wrestling. Like I said before, we wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for the fans who come out to watch us and support us, so that's really important to us.
Sounds like we get to end with a little bit of face Logan Lynch, but all in all, thank you so much for taking some time out to do this interview. I definitely do appreciate it, and again, I look forward to seeing what matches that you definitely cook up, especially your matchup against Sadis going into Stadium Mania.
Well, thank you, Nate. I appreciate it, and I don't want to build it up too much, but yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Just the name itself already has got me hooked, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to the show. It's going to be amazing. But that is going to wrap it up for this interview, guys. So again, Logan Lynch, you can follow him on Twitter as well as myself at NateFandGreat. And of course, you can find Elite Ringside Network on Facebook as well as Twitter. Again, we got more things coming on for this Mayhem in May series. But you know what, guys? Until then, see you guys later, and have a good one.